Nothing says America like apple pie or saltwater taffy. Or is it Kringle? Or cowboy cookies? Maybe Biscochitos or Possum Pie. Can't pick just one? Keep watching for each state's favorite dessert.
What's for dessert?
Lane cake is one of Alabama's most cherished treats, incorporating bourbon-soaked raisins, frosting, and sometimes cherries and other fruit on top. The dessert is so iconic, it was even immortalized in the novel To Kill a Mockingbird by Alabama native Harper Lee, and it's been a staple of home cooks ever since the 20s. Thanks to the preservation of the Lane cake in family cookbooks, fans will be enjoying this boozy treat for years to come. Baked Alaska for Alaska. Too obvious? Well, this meringue stunner dates back hundreds of years, and it certainly isn't limited to its namesake state. According to NPR, scientist Sir Benjamin Thompson accidentally discovered the recipe during a cooking experiment with meringue.
What about a nice cupcake? No. Rice Krispie treat? No. Baked Alaska.
The Baked Alaska we now know gained a following through its featuring in restaurants like New York City's Delmonico's. Wealthy patrons came there to sample the treat, which is cake topped with ice cream covered in meringue, all very briefly baked. Even though this dish may not have originated in Alaska, its iconic status earns it a spot on our list. Sopapillas originated in New Mexico, but this comforting, doughy confection is now famous in Arizona. The pillow-like sweet is deep-fried, covered in honey or syrup, then sprinkled with cinnamon or powdered sugar.
Sopapillas! Can I get some Sopapillas, please? Sweet.
According to What's Cooking America, the original recipe dates back over 200 years. But proving that a good thing can last forever, there are still plenty of restaurants serving these warm, toasty treats all over the Grand Canyon state. In the southern state of Arkansas, possum pie reigns supreme. And thankfully, it's not actually made with possums. Instead, layers of vanilla, chocolate custard, and pecans are folded together with cream cheese. Then, everything's covered in whipped cream and a sprinkling of pecan crumbs or chocolate shavings. With brownie points for brilliantly showcasing the official nut of Arkansas, the pecan, this deliciously creamy and decadent dessert is bursting with state pride. You might be thinking they're Chinese, but fortune cookies actually have their roots in Japanese culture. Even so, the fortune cookie we know today was invented in California, and of course, both Los Angeles and San Francisco claim to have done it first. While an official winner has never been declared, the cookies were first spotted in the state during the first half of the 20th century. Their shape may be complex, but the ingredients are simple: egg whites, flour, sugar, salt, water, and vanilla extract. The wafer cookies are also folded while they're still hot, with a message tucked inside, all so you can get a sweet little glimpse into your future.
Eat your hat and you will fall in love.
Colorado is home to some of the most popular snow sporting in the country. And with all those thrill seekers freezing their buns off, it only makes sense that after a day on the slopes, the perfect treat would be hot chocolate. But no one's stopping at regular old cocoa. Today, there's spiked hot chocolate, sipping chocolate, and even cannabis hot cocoa, which is no surprise considering the state's flourishing and legal weed industry. Throw in a few marshmallows and you've got yourself Colorado's #1 dessert. Though Connecticut is known as the Nutmeg State, the tree was never really produced or grown in the state. Nutmeg has come to be a celebrated spice in Connecticut despite this, and found its way into the local cuisine. Based on a classic recipe, it's the addition of ginger, cinnamon, molasses, and nutmeg that provide the spice part of this treat. And with the ability to adapt to almost any shape, this dessert packs in all the nutty sweetness. Okay, if you're wondering whether peaches are supposed to be a southern thing, the fruit actually boasts historic ties to this mid-Atlantic state. Delaware state flower is even a peach blossom, and some cities still hold peach festivals every year, celebrating what was once a major regional crop. Bursting with juicy, sweet fruit housed in a flaky crust, sometimes with a crumble baked on top, in 2009, peach pie was declared the state's official dessert. When you're in Florida, you've got to go local with key lime pie. Floridians have been making the bright, tangy dessert since at least the 50s. But according to Southern Living, it may not have been invented there. A similar recipe using lemons instead of limes was reportedly circulating in New York roughly 2 decades earlier.
What do they know about key lime?
If you're going Florida style, the pie should have a graham cracker crust and a center of condensed milk, egg yolks, and tart acidic key lime juice from the iconic Florida fruit. Lastly, the pie gets a generous dollop, piping, or layer of frothy whipped cream. If you made it through 2021 without hearing Justin Bieber's Peaches, congratulations. But if you didn't, Biebs has probably convinced you that Georgia is full of the fruit. Well, he's not entirely wrong. Peaches have been the official state fruit since 1995, and Georgia is known as the peach state. But as NPR noted, cotton and peanuts are actually Georgia's biggest exports today. Sorry, peaches! Even so, peach cobbler remains an iconic southern staple, and if you're doing it right, locals also recommend serving the dessert a la mode, with vanilla ice cream. Hawaiian shave ice is another American favorite invented by expats. According to USA Today, the dish originated in Japan over 1,000 years ago. Japanese immigrants introduced it to Hawaii in the 20s, and since then, it's been a popular treat for locals and tourists alike. The Hawaiian version of the dessert is known for ice that is finer than that of snow cones, and favorite flavorings include coconut, pineapple, banana, guava, and strawberry. Asian-inspired toppings have gained momentum as well, and fans go for sweetened condensed milk, vanilla ice cream, azuki beans, and mochi. This dessert certainly screams Idaho, and while it may look odd to outsiders, the ice cream potato is a beloved treat in the Gem State. They can be found at drive-ins and county fairs as a sweet summer snack, and according to Insider, the West Side Drive-In Movie Theater in Boise is the official home of the original ice cream potato. It's even got the Hollywood treatment on diners, drive-ins and dives, and Man vs. Food.
Must be an Idaho thing.
But surprise, there aren't any potatoes in the ice cream potato. It may look like a baked spud topped with sour cream, but it's actually an elaborately disguised ice cream sundae. The signature photato features creamy vanilla ice cream dusted with cocoa powder to give it that signature spud-like color. They may be the #1 go-to for every bake sale in the Midwest, but brownies were invented in Chicago, Illinois. As Time Out noted, in 1893, the Palmer House Hotel owner's wife Bertha asked the kitchen crew for a suitable treat for the World's Fair, and we've been enjoying their genius idea ever since.
Surely that's worth a brownie.
After Palmer, a recipe for a blondie-like version was published in 1896, followed by a mainstream brownie recipe in 1899, according to Mental Floss. And while we may be baking brownies these days from the back of a box, we have Bertha to thank for thinking outside of hers. Hoosiers have been going by that nickname for over 200 years, and that's why Indiana's most beloved dessert also goes by the title Hoosier Pie. This sweet treat typically boasts a vanilla-forward profile, using a few humble ingredients that most people had on hand back in the day. But once it's baked, the creamy filling takes on a Jell-O-like texture. But before you dig in, you won't want to forget the cinnamon or powdered sugar topping. This dessert may seem old-fashioned, but this is one recipe that stands the test of time. Here's another invention based on what home bakers had in their cupboards, and the popular Iowa Scotcheroo is made from mostly Rice Krispie cereal. But as the Des Moines Register put it, it's like a Rice Krispies treat on steroids. This dessert goes next level with the addition of sugar-packed melted peanut butter, which is folded into the Rice Krispies. After being smoothed into a pan, it's then topped with a layer of sweet chocolate butterscotch. They're part candy, part dessert. And according to Dance Around the Kitchen, they are a potluck staple here in Iowa and are loved by all ages. The top dessert in Kansas was actually first introduced by German immigrants, and thanks to them, Peppernut cookies have been delighting families for generations.
Did you know that this is the oldest and smallest cookie in the world?
Today, the treats are popular with Mennonite and Amish communities throughout the U.S. The cookies get their name from black pepper, but Anna's creates its signature licorice flavor. They typically bake to an orange-brown hue with a deliciously spicy crunch, and they're found just about everywhere in Kansas during the holidays. Bourbon just may be the flavor of Kentucky, especially when it comes to desserts. From bourbon bread pudding to bourbon butter cake, bakers aren't skimping on the liquor invented in their state. And one of Kentucky's signature treats is bourbon balls. First spotted in a candy store in 1938, people loved them so much they started making their own.
Bourbon balls. This is what it's all about.
According to the Spruce Eats, Kentucky bourbon balls are most often served at get-togethers around the holidays. Featuring vanilla wafers, cocoa powder, chopped pecans, and bourbon, these no-bake treats are packed with boozy flavor. Beignets and king cake may come to mind when you think of New Orleans, but those inventions belong to the French. Bananas Foster, on the other hand, was born in Louisiana's famous Brennan's restaurant. Ever since then, the sweet, saucy dish has delighted diners with its flashy flambe. For a tableside show, chefs set the whole dish on fire by pouring rum into the pan, and once the flames subside, the bananas and brown sugar sauce is poured over the perfect bowl of ice cream.
Y'all enjoy. Bon appetit. Happy Bananas Foster.
Awarding Whoopie pies to Maine might be a controversial move, because the northeastern United States continue to battle over which state has been making the treat the longest. Pennsylvania, Massachusetts, and Vermont are all top contenders. But according to the Farmer's Almanac, evidence points to Maine's Labadie's Bakery since 1925.
Look how cute these things are!
2009 was the first year of the state's very own Maine Whoopie Pie Festival, and by 2011, it was declared Maine's official treat. And we don't blame them. You can't go wrong biting into a cake-like cookie sandwich with a sweet marshmallowy filling. The official Maryland state dessert is inspired by the actual Smith Island on the Chesapeake Bay. And as the story goes, the many-layered cake was first baked for fishermen during the autumn oyster harvesting season. Stacked high with at least 9 thin sheets of individually baked cake, the treat was originally layered with fudge instead of chocolate, so it would last for weeks at sea. It was a hit back then, and today, Smith Island cake is Maryland's official state dessert. Before we chow down on Massachusetts' most iconic dessert, let's get one thing straight. Boston cream pie is not pie, it's cake. According to the New York Times version, the recipe calls for 2 slices of old-fashioned milk cake with a vanilla custard center and a chocolate glaze on top. The pie name is an ancient relic from the time cakes and pies were baked in the same type of pan.
Smooth, chocolatey, heaven.
With its rich creaminess and just the right amount of sweet chocolate, it's one dessert that you won't want to miss. Michigan is known for its old-fashioned fudge, and as 12 Tomatoes noted, it's a confection that's well over a century old. And those who've tried it absolutely rave about it.
Oh, fudge.
A simple version involves chocolate chips and condensed milk, with more serious recipes calling for butter, sugar, and vanilla. Looking for a signature locally inspired touch? Add tart cherries. You can even use leftover fudge to make another classic Michigan treat, bumpy cake. Is that fudge frosting? Sign us up! A simple, classic staple, 7-layer bars are a Minnesota favorite. With a graham cracker base and chocolate chips, pecans, butterscotch, and coconut, it's not hard to fall in love with these deliciously sweet treats. They also go by the name Magic Bars or Hello Dollies, and they've been delighting taste buds for over half a century. Mud pie is famous for its mysterious origins. According to Eater, some think the dessert came to be after a waitress saw a piece of melting cake and said it looked like the muddy water of the Mississippi River. Another story claims that it evolved from Mississippi mud cake, which is basically the pie without the crust.
Cake?
Either way, Mississippi mud pie is beyond scrumptious. With its graham cracker crust, brownie cake, and chocolate custard layers, with a fluffy whipped cream topping, the only mystery will be how your mud pie disappeared so fast from your plate. When it comes to Missouri's famous gooey butter cake, the story goes that a baker accidentally forgot to add a leavening agent to a cake mix, and the dense, chewy, gooey butter cake fans know and love was born. This dessert incorporates 2 sweet elements, a cake layer and a cream cheese layer, and at just 1 inch high, it's a unique Missouri pie-like treat that will win over any crowd. Quite a few states would probably like to claim s'mores as their own, but in Montana, the treats have become a regular indulgence thanks to Big Sky Country's vast natural landscape. As Bozeman magazine confirmed, s'mores are a Montana and camping tradition.
Can't have a s'more without some marshmallows.
Traditionally composed of a roasted marshmallow and chocolate square sandwiched between grams, Montana Outdoor noted the simple joy of the treat, adding, "S'mores would taste good if you baked them in an old shoe." It's the Cornhusker state, so it's only fitting that Nebraska's official dessert would also be corn-themed. According to What's Cooking America, salty sweet popcorn balls were invented in 1874 when unusually hot weather caused corn kernels to pop right off their husks. And a little rain on some sugarcane reportedly coated the natural popcorn with sweet syrup.
Okay, God! Let me have it!
While it may seem like a tall tale, popcorn balls remain a local favorite. Just top your buttery popcorn sphere with marshmallows, caramel, molasses, or literally just about anything sweet. We have the Basque people to thank for Nevada's top dessert, and Gateau Basque is still popular in Reno, Las Vegas, and Elko today. It's made up of a tart typically filled with black cherry jam, and it might also be called a Basque cake when prepared with a cream filling instead. Keeping with tradition, the pastry must also be decorated with a fine crosshatch pattern, and it's often finished with a light dusting of powdered sugar. While apple cider donuts have swept the nation, New Hampshire takes the top prize for this treat. These often seasonal donuts have been an American tradition since the early 50s. Locally, apple orchards, farm stands, and even some pumpkin patches offer these donuts by the pack at the first sign of fall. While the batter incorporates nutmeg, cinnamon, and apple cider, their real sweetness comes from their cinnamon sugar coating. If you're down the Jersey Shore, as they say locally, you gotta get the taffy. According to Digest Online, this iconic treat was invented in the 1800s when an Atlantic City candy shop flooded with seafoam. Clearly ahead of its time with the rebrand, the owner sold the candy that had been coated in ocean water, calling it saltwater taffy.
Is it gum? Is it food? What's the deal? Oh, it's nice. May I try a pink one?
This New Jersey staple can still be found at the state's many boardwalk destinations. And yes, the candies are made with salt. So if you're into salty sweet, you'll love getting this stuff stuck in your teeth. The Bizcochito has been New Mexico's official cookie since 1989, and they appear at the most special occasions. According to NewMexico.org, the anise-scented, lard-enriched shortbread are essential to weddings, graduations, and anniversaries, and are so popular at Christmas that in December, Bizcochitos comprise maybe 30% of the diet of the average New Mexican. But it's the addition of whiskey or wine that separates these sweet treats from a traditional shortbread cookie. And with the final dusting of cinnamon and sugar, there is plenty of reason to celebrate. Some may claim this dessert has its roots in ancient Rome, but New York-style cheesecake is a classic American invention. The original recipe was developed in the 1900s by Arnold Rubin, owner of the former Rubin's Delicatessen in Manhattan. And for the record, the Rubin sandwich was also named after this guy. Once again, cheesecake is not a cake, but a pie. But one bite of its sweet graham cracker crust, tangy cream cheese filling, and berry topping, and you'll forget your own name.
Holy that's what people say.
A dessert near and dear to the hearts of North Carolina natives is the sweet potato pie. And it's no surprise, considering it boasts real homemade mashed sweet potatoes, along with the traditional additions of vanilla extract, cinnamon, and other spices. As Southern Kitchen noted, the pie is likely inspired by West African cooking traditions. And in the States, one of the earliest recipes was published by George Washington Carver at the turn of the 20th century. Home to the descendants of Scandinavian immigrants, lefse is a local favorite in North Dakota, and as the Cooking Channel confirmed, lefse, Norwegian potato crepes, are popular in North Dakota, particularly during the winter holiday season.
They roll it out paper thin.
Finding its place among other Norwegian regional favorites, this dessert is made of simple pantry ingredients. Lefse is then served warm with butter and sugar and eaten as a roll. Both Ohio's Buckeye Sweets and the Ohio State mascot are named after the Buckeye tree. But unlike the plant, the candy-like treats feature a peanut butter confection rolled into balls and dipped in chocolate. As far as local tradition goes, Taste Atlas noted, in Ohio, this sweet treat is closely associated with college football games, Christmas, and weddings, or any time as far as we're concerned. Fried pies are pure Oklahoma, and they're typically packed with an extra sweet fruit filling like apricot, blackberry, and strawberry, or maybe even peanut butter chocolate. But don't confuse these with McDonald's apple pies. While both are served warm and in a paper wrapper, the Sooner State version is a perfectly scratch-made treat that you definitely won't find on the dollar menu. Oregon's famous Marionberries are the reason for this richly colored dessert. While the fruit may be new to some, the Cooking Channel explained, they are glossy, black-purple conical berries with a somewhat tart flavor, though sweeter than the traditional blackberry.
We enjoy pie. It's pretty evident, I think.
When those berries are baked into a pie, they burst with tart flavor. And to really do it right, the pie can be balanced with a cream cheese layer or scoop of vanilla ice cream on top. Thanks to Pennsylvania's Amish, the entire state is powered by Shoofly Pie. But even locals disagree on a key component. The dry versus wet debate pits a sturdier gingerbread-like crust against a moist molasses custard bottom. But that's not stopping anyone from eating it. As Taste of Home noted, Shoofly Pie is to the Pennsylvania Dutch as pecan pie is to a Southerner. With the molasses and brown sugar filling and dusty crumb topping, who really cares what the bottom is made of? Zeppole are a beloved St. Joseph's Day treat you'll find at Rhode Island's finest Italian restaurants and bakeries. And as Food 52 described them, they're giant, airy puff pastries filled with sweet, lemony custard topped with a cherry. Well, they had us at sweet custard. And with that buttery pastry and a cherry on top, they're crushing the competition in the Ocean State. Coconut cake is a tradition in South Carolina. And as 12 Tomatoes noted, a Charleston coconut cake has up to 12 layers of cake and frosting, making it a towering achievement in cake construction. This dessert is positively packed with coconut, from the frosting to the cake to the creamy filling. Oh, and don't forget the shredded coconut on the outside for a decorative flair. If you're a South Dakota native, you've probably had your share of Kuchen. The decadent cake-like pastry hails from Germany and is the German word for cake.
When the orders come, my God, they ask for 75 pounds of this.
According to South Dakota Magazine, there are 3 essential components to a good kuchen: a flaky crust, a custard-like filling, and a beautifully crumbly topping. And you might even find some versions that feature a sweet seasonal fruit. The famous Tennessee moon pie is made with sweet vanilla cookies and marshmallow, coated in chocolate icing. As the story goes, a coal miner once requested a dessert as big as the moon, and the moon pie became a thing. A really popular thing.
What up, moon pie?
No one calls me moon pie but me, Ma.
While some home bakers have mastered the treat in their kitchens, it's even easier to get one from a famous box. And the Chattanooga Bakery has been mass-producing the favorite dessert since 1917. Pecans are a big deal in Texas. They're the official nut and tree of the Lone Star State, and pecan pie is the official state dessert. And according to Southern Living, Texas produces around 70 million pounds of pecans a year. With a buttery, sweet, syrupy pecan filling and a perfectly flaky crust, you'll be hoping that a slice of pie is also bigger in Texas. Jell-O is Utah's official state snack, and we think green Jell-O salad should be its official dessert. With the oddly wonderful combo of mayo, cottage cheese, lime juice, lemon juice, heavy cream, and sugar, this otherworldly dish is a throwback stunner.
I think it says about Utah that we really like our sugar.
Also known as Mormon Jell-O salad, the treat has deep ties to the state's religious community. But while the question remains as to exactly why, we're guessing it's because it's fun and delicious. Vermont produces the most maple syrup of any state, but while their official dessert is apple pie with cheddar cheese, the maple leaf-shaped candy remains an iconic treat.
I'm sorry, he's a little bit wound up. We had to stop at every maple candy stand on the way here.
I ate all my gifts for everybody.
As Pieces of Vermont noted, pure maple candy is expensive to both produce as well as ship around the country, but producing it is a Vermont tradition, and a tradition we're proud to help continue. Virginia's chess pie features vinegar as a key ingredient and a crunchy top layer that can't be beat. But while it was originally called vinegar pie, it eventually got a name that attracted a much wider fan base. As the cook's cook noted, chess has nothing to do with this pie at all, but you must admit that chess pie is more palatable on the tongue for modern diners than vinegar pie. Nanaimo bars are a classic Canadian treat, but they have made their way down south.
They're kind of like the Kardashian of Canadian foods. They're famous for being famous.
These days, they're beloved by Washington state locals, and with a chocolate, graham cracker, almond, and coconut crust filled with a layer of creamy, melt-in-your-mouth custard and topped with smooth chocolate, it's no surprise they're a favorite dessert. West Virginia is home to the iconic Golden Delicious apple, and while the fruit has inspired many desserts over the years, there's none more popular than the apple cake. This recipe has been passed down for generations, and while everyone's favorite Great Aunt Ethel probably made it her own way, the springy, light sugar-dusted confection will be a staple for years to come. The Danish introduced this dish to Wisconsin locals, leaving a lasting impact on America's dairyland. Inside a ring-shaped pastry, there is a fruit, cream cheese, or nut-based filling, all topped with a sweet icing glaze.
I had to come all the way from Scottsdale, Arizona to get one of these.
If you've tasted the Trader Joe's version, you'll be happy to know their pastries actually come directly from Wisconsin favorite O&H Danish Bakery. Congrats! You're now Kringle verified. Wyoming's cowboy cookies are perfect for enjoying around the campfire. The formerly boring old oatmeal chocolate chip cookie gets an upgrade with pecans, walnuts, and shredded coconut to take it over the top.
Oh my god, that sounds really good. Can I have a little? Yeah.
As the cooking and beer blog suggested of these jam-packed beauties, these cookies are basically the definition of Wyoming. Not only are they breathtaking and remarkable, but they are also super loaded with deliciousness. Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more MASH videos about your favorite desserts are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.